Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
Hi, I'm Tim Bradner with Alaska Legislative Digest, and welcome to Capitol Views. And a special welcome today to newly elected Representative Carolyn Hall from District 16 in Anchorage. So thanks for joining us, Carolyn.
Thank you so much, Tim. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. And this is your first term in the legislature. And tell us a little about your district, District 16, and where it is. And then let's talk about you, your background, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for the question. So I am, as you mentioned, first time elected official. I'm a House representative and representing House District 16, which is parts of West Anchorage, and specifically that's the Turnagain, Spenard, and Sand Lake neighborhoods. So we encompass. It's largely residential. We also have a couple of trails that are part of our district. Kincaid Park is in our district, as well as Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, Lake Hood, that vicinity of Anchorage.
And Carolyn, tell us about yourself, your background.
Oh, sure. I never know what to say or where to start with this question, but I am from Massachusetts originally. I come from a family largely of educators. My parents are both still together, back living in Massachusetts. I have two younger sisters who still live in New England. Yeah, my dad was a public school teacher for 30 plus years, and then he retired, went to go work for the railroad as a conductor. My mom used to work in an office, or excuse me, in um, uh, a factory, but she was doing office work. And then when she started having my sisters and I, she became a stay-at-home mom. And so that's the short of that. But I ended up moving to Alaska in 2008 for the first time. I came up here for a job to work at KTOU as a photojournalist, and that was a very special time in Alaska's history for me to be part of and to witness. And I'll say it was an excellent, working in television news was an excellent introduction to Alaska in general. And back then, news organizations were better resourced than they are today. And so I had the fortunate opportunity to travel somewhat extensively across the state to work on news stories that were rural in nature, policy related. Sometimes natural disaster related, but it gave me quite a robust flavor of all that Alaska has to offer, especially when it comes to its people and communities and culture. And I fell in love with Alaska right away. And even though I ended up leaving Alaska a couple times for career opportunities in Seattle, I made sure that my focus was always to come back. So I've been back in Alaska now for about 10 years. And yeah, I don't, I feel like if I keep going on, I don't want to just regurgitate my resume. Maybe I'll just stop there and let you ask me another question to guide the conversation a little better.
Well, you mentioned that your dad was in the railroad, was is interesting. And for a minute, I thought that might be the Alaska Railroad, but it sounds like it was back in Massachusetts.
Mhm. Yeah,
What do you,
he was a conductor on one of the commuter rail lines. He did that for 12 or 13 years, and he is quite a train fanatic. We even have my parents still have 2 foot gauge cranberry bog trains in their backyard. And so he tinkers with those, plays with them, and yeah, he's quite a train aficionado. He even builds model trains too, and has quite the layout in their attic.
goodness,
Yeah.
that'll keep him busy. Has he been to Alaska? Has he ridden the Alaska Railroad?
He has, yeah, that was one of the lures of me getting him to come up here to visit me, actually. The first time was when I got married up here in Girdwood. Both my parents, my family came up, and then he's been up here a couple of times since, and we always try to hit up the railroad whenever possible. He really gets a kick out of it. And he and my mom were actually just up here for the inauguration, and it was really special because inauguration day was January 21st, and that was his 81st birthday. So it was really, really special to have both of my parents here for that.
Good for them. And you mentioned your mom was in education. Did she teach
Oh,
elementary school?
My father taught, he taught eighth grade earth science, but I'm glad you asked that question because my mom was actually elected to the local school board and she served on the school board for 12 years back in my hometown. So she cares deeply about public education and she really set the standard in the bar as far as um, like what education and what a well-resourced public education system can offer for you. And I feel like I got a, a fantastic education growing up in public schools.
Well, that certainly gave you a good background for the issues that you're dealing with in Juneau today. This seems like an issue we deal with every year, public education and the funding issues and problems. Uh, Carolyn, in your district, when you, I imagine you went door to door a lot in your district when running for office. What did people say when you knocked on the door?
Oh, the number one thing that people would talk to me about is exactly that, funding public education. They care deeply about what their children and youth are the opportunities that they're experiencing from pre-K all the way up through graduation. And that includes the university system too. So it was by far and large the number one issue that people would talk to me about. They're gravely concerned about our lack of funding, education funding, and they made it abundantly clear to me that this needs to be one of our priorities here in Juneau.
Well, it's certainly an issue that has a lot of people's attention. When you were working in broadcast in media, did you get out to rural Alaska?
I
On
did.
travels?
Yes, yes, I did. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. I've been to Lake Minchumina, been to Kotzebue, Kivalina, Bethel, Ukviagvik, Ketchikan, a lot of the hubs, but then also some more remote communities as well, such as Stony River and Sleetmute, McGrath, Unalakleet. Yeah, I was incredibly fortunate to have all of these experiences and to see and learn from the people who live there and how they like what their traditional values are. And I've learned so much from them, and it's been just a really special opportunity. I feel so fortunate.
Well, that's a great introduction to Alaska, particularly to have the feeling for what people are dealing with in rural Alaska.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, well, Kellen, thank you very much for joining us and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Tim. I appreciate
Yep,
it. Thank you.
thank you. And this is Tim Bradner. Thank you for joining us on Capital Views. Thank you.